Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
Testing 1 2 3.
Testing 1 2 3.
Test 1 2.
Variety. Good evening. We'll call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, April 21st, 2025. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On to number 3, we'll take a moment of silence in memory of Jody Miller, for the police department. Thank you very much. On to number 4, roll call. Amanda.
Mark Bittner,
Here.
Shannon Derby. Here. Bill LeClaire,
Here.
Doug Brandt,
Here.
Tim Petrie.
Here.
Tommy Shamoulis. Here. Scott Steckmeister,
Here.
Adam Lahosky,
Here.
Darla LeClaire. Here. All present.
And that's a good thing to hear. We haven't been all present a while, so we can skip over number 5 as everyone is here tonight. On to number 6, public hearing. Tonight we have 2. The first one is a public hearing on the final resolution authorizing special assessment for costs incurred for removing the existing pavement, excavation, installation of storm service laterals, grading and graveling, Portland cement, concrete paving, driveway approaches, carriage walks, repair, replacement, or construction of sidewalks, and miscellaneous related work. Harbor Street from Highline Court to 16th Street, 16th Street from Harbor Street to Emmett Street, and Emmett Street from 16th Street to 17th Street. Any background first?
I would just note that the council has in its packets the final resolution that is proposed on the special assessment, along with a copy of the assessment roll. Following public hearing, the council will be asked to consider action on that final resolution. And I would just remind council members, you're all doing very good so far, and anyone coming up to speak at the podium, we are without our normal sound system tonight, so that magic little puck on the table, which served us pretty well at the last meeting, is what's picking up the sound. So please speak clearly and have your outdoor voice. Not too loud, but have your outdoor voice. So public hearing, this is a budgeted improvement. There was an information meeting back in January. There was a follow-up information meeting at 4:30 today. I think we have some folks here that were at that session. So this is the opportunity for public input on the proposals.
Thank you. Since this is a public hearing, I will have 3 calls. If you want to speak, like Greg said, please step up to the podium on your left and state your name and address for the record. So I'll open up the first call on this public hearing. Seeing no one, I'll close the first call and then open up the second call. Seeing no one for that, I'll close the second call and open up the third and final call. Okay, I'll close the third and final call and bring it back to council. Looking for a motion then.
Make a motion to recognize not the final resolution.
Okay, looking for a second. Thank you, Bonnie. Any council discussion?
Yes, I did receive communication on this from a resident who thought it was a little expensive, and after seeing more of that chart, it is a little bit more than it was in previous years. Do we have a full reason as to why it is considerably higher?
I'd ask our city engineer, Matt Heckenleibel, to come up. I know, council was copied on some communication that came from my office and from Mr. Heckenleibel to at least one of the, property owners along the street. And there are some reasons on it, so.
So do I have specific reasons? Absolutely not. Each project is unique in its own nature, and depends on the time of year that it is bid, the complexity of the project, the length of the project, economy, other regulatory requirements as far as material costs, material availability, et cetera. So there's a wide variety of reasons why the project cost might be up slightly as compared to other projects. In some recent communications, this project was compared to Lincoln Street that was done 2 years ago. So right there is a 2-year-old comparison to a present day comparison. The Lincoln Street project was a nice straight roadway. The Harbor 16th Emmett Street project has 3 different varying pavement widths. So that's going to contribute to a more complex project. Lincoln Street, again, because of the length, you're going to have economy of scale. Not so much with this current project. So again, there's a magnitude of reasons why. Can I dive into a specific one? Absolutely not. So,
Because from last year to this year, there's a significant increase in from any other year that was put in that chart, and that's why I asked. And then, is there varying thicknesses of concrete?
it's the same thickness of concrete as Roosevelt, as Lincoln Street, as 17th. The only difference in pavement thickness on 17th is the section from Schrader's to Jefferson Street.
It's not the whole story, certainly, but one thing that was pointed out by the party that sent the email with some questions was quantities of concrete, as I recall.
Yep.
And as Mr. Heckenleibel pointed out in his response, Lincoln Street had about 4-foot terraces. These 3 streets have terraces ranging from 8 to about 12 feet in width. So that does make for a pretty decent amount of additional volume of concrete just in the driveway approaches that lie within the driveway. But I think it's pretty clear unit prices, at least for everything up top, the concrete, curb and gutter, grading and graveling, were higher than last year's project, but within engineer's cost estimate.
It overall within the engineer's cost estimate, yes.
Did we have 3 bids to pick from?
I think we had 5 bids. Board memo.
It's on your agenda tonight.
Yeah, 4 bids. So top to bottom, there was a 10% difference, or less than a 10% difference between high and low, and between first and second bids, it was less than a 2% differential. So overall, bids came in tight. So yeah, I mean, again, further on the agenda, but overall, we're anticipating the award of the contract, and as such, we are moving forward with the proposed assessments.
And the low bid again was less than your engineering estimate cost.
Yes.
So we knew it was what it was estimated to be, right? But unfortunately, we got a bit lower than that, say, estimated engineering cost.
Yes. Now, also, I mean, I alluded to it a little bit in my responses back to that email exchange. There is some modifications that had occurred many years ago in our assessment policy. We're not following our policy verbatim, where the residents should be paying 75% and the city paying 25%. It is more like the city is paying 70% of the assessment costs and the property owners are paying around 30%. And that was a decision that was made unilaterally and without council authorization. So that will be a discussion for a later date. But right now, the assessment rate are averaging around $100 a lineal foot. they should be closer to the $240 based upon our current policy.
By the way, when Mr. Heckelman says unilateral, it was off record as a decision of the Public Works Committee of City Council, but we don't see where it went up to the council. I'm not sure the council at this point would endorse a policy that resulted in $250 per foot either.
Do we have a TID that has boundaries in that area for any of the public infrastructure? No?
Not one that is still within its
Active
expenditure period. You might recall we used TID number 8 to help pay for some work over in the east side area, but that's the old hospital TID. And
We have what, a year left?
we're past the end of the expenditure period on that. We can't incur any new costs. We can still be paying off bills. And I would point out, as I did in the response to the lady that had some questions, typically when the city has applied TIF monies, and we've done some of that around TID8, the old high school TID, it's been applied against, here tonight we call it the city share, I'll call it the whole community's share that isn't being special assessed. So instead of saying, congratulations, you're lucky enough to be near a TIF district, but you know, the next 3 or 4 projects aren't, if it's been used to provide relief, it's been to the general city debt service. Not that council couldn't do otherwise, but that's how that's typically been handled, as opposed to reducing the property owner assessments, which would be specific to their neighborhood. Just if I could too, Mr. President, maybe it's not relevant to the hearing, but I think it's interesting, and we have an audience tonight. You know, when we talk about the age of infrastructure, if you saw the report that went out from our city engineer to the concerned property owner, we know that part of what's driving this project is replacing undersized water main. These 3 blocks of street on the east side have 4-inch diameter water main underneath them, and that's main that went in on Harbor Street in 1905, on 16th and Emmett Streets in 1914. So that'll get connected. There'll be a lot better water pressure in the neighborhood. The storm sewer is post-World War II, 1946. And the original pavement, which I assume, Matt, is the underlying concrete over there, is this asphalt over concrete, dates to 1946. And there was an asphalt overlay done in the 1970s. So probably based on the street condition alone, even though that street is almost 80 years old, that current base, yes. We might not be doing this, granted, but it is old. It's not in the best of shape, and it's got some pretty ancient infrastructure underneath. So, doesn't make the sting of a special assessment any better, but this infrastructure has served its life, and that's all. And again, the only special assessments are for the surface work. There are special charges for the connections to storm sewer laterals, because I don't believe there were any existing storm sewer laterals in this neighborhood for some pumps and those connections. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Are we gonna have any grants or anything for this project?
The private side water service will receive the DNR grant of $2,500, which should cover, I'll venture to guess, 95% of the costs allocated to the project. The only additional cost is if a water meter has to be relocated, say from the back of the house to the front. Don't remember the cost off the top of my head, but it's going to be less than $500.
So that's $2,500 per property in grant money. And help me out on math, on the public side of the laterals within the right of way, the city's borrowing, but we're getting that 0.25% 20-year financing available through DNR, courtesy of all our taxes and our share of the deficit. A good deal on the face of it.
Anyone else? Okay, see nothing else, this will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Shannon Derby. Aye. Bill Claire.
Aye.
Doug Grant.
Aye.
Tim Beecher.
Aye.
in favor.
Okay. On to the second public hearing this evening. Public hearing on proposed ordinance amending section 10-1-20A of the municipal code entitled R1 Single Family Residence District to add short-term rentals as a permitted use.
This proposed amendment comes with a recommendation for approval from the city council, or excuse me, from the planning commission. Because it's an amendment to the zoning code, state law requires a public hearing with class 2 notice. That's why the hearing tonight. This would, as noted, allow for short-term rentals as a specifically permitted use in R1. And then by reference, that makes them a permitted use in R2, R3, and R4, which reference and use permitted in R1. This was discussed at some length at a council work session earlier this year, as were some amendments to the short-term rental licensing ordinance, which is not in the zoning code, but in the licensing part of the code. Those were not quite ready for prime time as of Friday, so we have the draft ordinances in hand, but want to spend some time with both the zoning administrator and the police chief on those. I expect they'd be in front of council at its next meeting. So just to let you know, nobody forgot about those, but they've gone through a couple of different iterations, and I wasn't ready to take the drafts, the latest drafts we got on Friday and send them out to council. So council tonight could act on this, or if you want to hold the hearing and defer action until those licensing ordinance amendments come in, that would be your call.
Okay. Again, this is a public hearing, so if you'd like to talk about this, I'll be making 3 calls. Again, if you wish to speak, you can stand up by the podium on your left and state your name and address for the record. I'll open up the first call of this public hearing.
Hello. Susan Robitaille, 2313 Jefferson Street. I wasn't prepared to speak on this. I didn't know if this was on the agenda. I guess, well, we live on an R1 street, and we have repeatedly talked to council about our situation. We know for a fact that out of the 4 homes that are on our street that are zoned R1, 3 of the families have written and requested that we maintain the protections that are given to R1. So I guess what I'm wondering is who's writing in and requesting changes to the R1 zoning? What residents are doing that? Because we know that 3 of the families on our street are opposing this and have written and called repeatedly. So it feels personal. Why is this being targeted all of a sudden to make this change? Who's writing in and asking for this? So one of the things I just want to remind you of, and it's a semantics game, I understand private residence rights. I get it. It's a house. The structure is a house. But in the case of our situation, the owner of the property is not a resident. They live in a city outside of Two Rivers, and it's being run as a business. So even though the structure itself is a house on a residential street, it is a business. And I know that businesses are not allowed on our street. In fact, resident 2 houses over that runs the Candle Cottage, she had to jump through major hoops just to be able to, she had to get approval from the neighbors to be able to have this business. So it's feeling unfair and confusing for us. I know our family, we were really careful about when we moved we didn't want to live by a business. We could have bought a house for a lot less money if we wanted to live next to a hotel. We're very careful to read the zoning, to make sure we wanted to be in a neighborhood with other families. We had no idea this was going on. It would have changed our entire trajectory of our move. So we've been going back and forth with the city for a long time now. You've heard all of our arguments. You've seen the petition that has over 104 signatures on it, that of residents, not just in R1 streets, but in the city at large, that want Airbnb reform. And this is the wrong direction. So that's, you've got letters from people on my street, I know for a fact, that oppose this. Are they being heard? Have we been heard?
So we really can't comment on, you can talk, but we really,
Sure.
I think we can just really ask questions back.
So I guess it's
We
what
could
you
have a
said.
discussion after.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? We'll close the first call and then go to the second call. Seeing no one second call, I will open up the third and final call. Seeing no one else, I'll close the third and final call, bring it back to council, looking for a motion.
I have a motion to waive the reading and adopt the ordinances recommended by the planning commission.
Thank you, Doug. Second by
I'll say.
Mark. Thank you. Any council discussion?
I think that part of the problem with the short-term rentals is that the state laws, basically we have to follow state law on that.
So we have to follow, sorry, Sean Griffin, city attorney, we have to follow state law, but the state law does give the city some flexibility for regulation. The big regulation the city is prohibited from doing is under 66.1014, which says the city cannot prohibit the rental of residential dwelling for 7 consecutive days or longer. So anything we talk about is for 6 nights or fewer in terms of city regulation. In terms of then the 6 days or less, the city has the authority to regulate that. And I think Greg kind of touched on, we have discussed a lot of regulations as to operation of short-term rentals, but this proposal is just in regards to zoning. So it's already permitted in the R1 zoning district is rentals of 7 consecutive days or longer, and there's already a number of short-term rentals that operate. So this would just make that a permitted use as is already operational in a lot of areas. That's kind of how the code and the state law interlace each other right now.
Basically, we're just trying to recognize these properties as short-term rentals by adding this use permit.
I think that's the intent. I don't see what the council is trying to do with this. It's up for the council to decide. But I think that's the intent here of adding this as a permitted use and then referencing the regulations to make it clear that these are permitted, but they need to be subject to chapter 613 on short-term rentals, which I think the intent was to make that more clear for people reading this code.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think it's fair to say there's some ambiguity in the current R1 zoning in the, well, it does, just in our code, I hope to go back to it, while it does allow for single-family dwellings, it also provides for not more than 3 boarders or lodgers, not members of the family. So you could have 3 transient workers that work somewhere in the area, staying at your property. The question then had come up in some of our dialogue with residents. Well, if a person is renting a single family home as an Airbnb, do you count each individual guest separately, or is there one renter just like with a long-term rental and they have guests? So the city for better than 2 years now has been requiring local city licensure of Airbnbs. They have existed, I think they've existed with the general knowledge of the community in this body. This was intended and consistent with direction the council's given at work sessions on this to consider making them a permitted use. I will point out I'm not saying the council has to do that. That's why you have a public hearing, why you're hearing that. There's also, there are matters the council has considered. Short-term rentals could be considered conditional uses and need to go through that same process with a public hearing. And that could either be for all existing or all in the future. All Airbnbs or short-term rentals in the future. That, at least in discussions at the work sessions, was not a favorite approach. There are other things certainly that can be done as far as limits on the number of people occupying a short-term rental, rules applicable, and those are some of the other issues that have been discussed on license. Just to fill that in, the council spent a fair amount of time.
Anyone else? Yes, Adam.
I thought when we talked about this, that we were supposed to have R1 in our code per state. Is that incorrect?
Per state law as it relates to short-term rentals.
Right. I thought that was something that we needed to add.
No, that's not ringing a bell.
We don't need to add it, no. But per state law, it's by default, anything that restricts that use for over 7 or more days would be preempted by state statute and be unenforceable. We don't necessarily need to.
7 or more, it's already permissible,
Yes.
regardless of what we do.
Yes, and then as Greg was illustrating, I think the direction that my office got in drafting this and the subsequent amendments was that it's ambiguous with the border definition now as to the extent that short-term rentals are permitted. So this seeks to clarify that.
That must be what I understood, that was more than 7 would have to be allowed under state law.
Yeah, that needs to be
Less than 6
permitted
is
use.
within our jurisdiction.
That is correct.
Anyone else?
6 or less.
6 or less.
Lawyer, may I ask you a question, sir?
Sure.
With the Airbnb, and the zoning, are you allowed to do, I know that some cities have gone to where Airbnbs have to be owner occupied. Are you allowed to have a break of that in the city, like, well, R2, R3, they can be where they're not owner occupied, but perhaps for like R1 in a situation where they do have to be owner occupied, so it keeps the it keeps the neighborhood more structured, like that they can still rent out rooms, but they have to be owner occupied. So that it kind of, because the language, as I read that ordinance, is 3 or more of the family. And I think it is implied that the family lives there and they're renting out rooms to lodgers.
I guess I will find to an interpretation of this. But as to the ability, yes, there are cities who have created, villages who have created ordinances that say that short-term rentals must be owner occupied. You can certainly, if the council wanted to, or any municipality, differentiate based on R1, R2, R3. My office represents a municipality that has done something similar like that. In a high tourism area, they've said they need to be owner occupied or have a professional manager within, that can respond to a call within 5 minutes or something. I don't remember the exact time, but there could be something like that done. And there are municipalities that have ordinances like that.
Don't we have that in our ordinance, about a manager, somebody, a phone number, 2 phone numbers?
Yes, that's correct, but it doesn't differentiate based on the zoning district. My example was that there's a municipality that in their more of a tourism area or a historic business district requires that a professional manager be within such a distance of that property or that be owner occupied. So someone could respond to an emergency within an average amount of time. So there could be that differentiation if the council saw it.
Anyone else?
We are bringing forth some ordinances to restrict some STR activities, which should help the situation in the future, and that's going to be next council session.
Yes.
So we are trying everything we can within our legal boundaries to make this right for citizens and safe. So but we can't retroactively change what already is in existence now. I think that many houses have been there even before people have moved into the neighborhood. Can't take them out and make these changes now. So,
Yes, Bonnie?
I do think this is a difficult, it's difficult in two ways. I wish I understood R1 better. I mean, according to our city, that, what are the zonings and what do they mean? But unfortunately, I think there's Airbnbs throughout other R1 neighborhoods, if I'm not mistaken. I think so.
I can't give you an exact number, but clearly there
Oh, no, I don't
are
know. I
Airbnbs
just
in
meant-
our neighborhoods.
I mean, I just meant they do exist, not
Yes.
only in your neighborhood, but other neighborhoods too. They're not an easy thing to deal with. That's all I'm saying.
Anyone else?
So, I guess what I mean to say is that the city could wish, rather than permit short-term rentals as permitted use in R1, could assign it to a different R zoning district. That would be an option. So just to clarify that, that would mean that, for example, if we're placing only in the R4 district, the R4 district would have short-term rentals as a permitted use, for less than 6 and less days and 7 and more days. The remainder would be 7 or more days. And then there'd be that ambiguity as to that still exists as to whether or not short-term rentals are permissible in the other districts. So the council could correct that by taking other action then for the R1 through R3 district. That could be differentiated based on the district, and those are supposed to. I think the intent is based on intensity. So the council could take that action.
Anyone else? Okay, this will be a roll call vote, and Amanda.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Doug Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Ryan Schultes.
Aye.
Scott Secretary.
Aye.
Adam Mahowski.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc. Mark Bittner.
Aye.
Shannon Derby.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you all for that. On to number 7, input from the public. If you wish to address the council about something that is on this agenda or perhaps something on a future agenda, please step up to the podium on your left and state your name and address for the record. Please be aware that you will have 3 minutes to address the council, especially with the number of people here tonight. We don't know how many will be stepping up. So we'll stick to the 3 minutes. The council may ask questions of you about the topic, but cannot make any decisions since the topic is not on a posted agenda item. Issues raised may be referred to the city manager or city staff for research and possible further action. Input from the public. Okay. Thank you.
Jeff Dalton, 3727 Adams Street. It was just recently, I was looking into solar power, and one second, I gotta find the company's name that I had checked with. Actually, there were 3 of them, but one that told me that we couldn't have solar here in Two Rivers. Well, not that we couldn't, but they couldn't help us. Blue Raven Solar had told us, and so did the other 3. They said if we were with We Energies, they would have no problem with it. We wanted to find a good Tesla unit, partially in support of all the wonderful things that Elon Musk is doing for the country, and partially, well, primarily, I guess, because our utility bills with 3 people or 2 people in the house are right around $325 a month. So we just wanted to kind of offset that some. But it got to be kind of disturbing that we couldn't get solar. What is the reason for that? I don't know if it was because it was going back to grid.
Fact, and I don't know that it's Mr.
Isn't it because we don't produce energy in the city? I actually have a plug-in in my house that we do the off-grid, and I was talking to my husband about it. Why can't we have solar panels and get that kickback rebate? And he said, and somebody else said that because we buy our power. we don't produce it, I think.
It could be, but then that kind of makes me believe that the Rivers Utilities has a monopoly on the whole energy source, so.
So I don't know that it's fair to ask, but Mr. Delman is here. I'll ask our electric utility director to at least give a preliminary answer, Jeff. I suspect it
We have
relates.
numerous customers that have solar on their roofs. There's an application that needs to be filled out, commissioning and approval through inspection. So it is allowed in the city of Rivers.
Okay. Is the issue with selling it back out onto the grid?
There is a certain amount, monetary amount that does go back to the customer to offset if it's not consumed.
Those three companies said they couldn't do it because it was Rivers Utilities.
Stop down and give me their.
Okay, yeah, they said that I should get a hold of you, so I will do that.
Yeah, there's an example would be Frank Copeland.
Yeah.
He's getting kickback, he's getting paid monthly from the city.
Okay, that was just what I had from three companies.
Grace Church has a pretty good sized solar installation on top of the hill on the east side. Mr. Delman can answer questions. We have full-time staff that run the electric utility and are always happy to answer customer questions. And there will be a report to the council on the next agenda to fill you in on the rest of the story on this, because Jeff raises a question that's obviously of interest.
Okay.
And this is WPPI handling programs.
We work with,
I'll pass it on to them, so they'll probably get in touch with you. And the second thing I have, it was just recently, well, probably 3 weeks ago, I sent emails to all of council. First day, Bonnie got back to me right away. Second day, Adam, well, it took Adam about 3 or 4 days, but it's still timely. 3 days or 3 weeks nearly before Tim did, crickets from the rest of the council, and this isn't the first time. The last time I sent emails to all the council, Bonnie and Adam were the only one that got back to me. Now this one was pertaining to a Facebook post that was going on about a council member that was at a rally with a picture of a uterus flipping off the public. Now let's put that in perspective. It might be okay for everything, but I guarantee you that if I had a picture of me flipping off the public and Adam was sitting on the corner with that same picture, every one of you would be all over him. Something needs to be done about that. I know you said there can't be, but it's not right.
I'm not being argumentative, just the point. I was going to say, since you referenced me, you did receive my response,
but that was
which was in point of fact 10 days after your email, Jeff. It was April 9. You got your response on, I think, April 20th, so 11 days. 11 days.
Okay. 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay. But still, I mean, there's uproar in the city over it. There was swatting being done to somebody out because of the post. I mean, police were called falsely. It's just not right. All council member would have had to do is get on there and say, well, you know what? People just please stop. Nothing was done. People are upset. There's even talk of a recall. So I don't think the city needs that on trying to get a new city manager. So that's what my email was all about. And mostly, I mean, people get upset when you email council and nobody gets back to you, or rarely, hardly anybody. There's a few, but it's your duty to get, people expect it. We shouldn't have to just keep wondering, are they ever going to get back to me? It's not right. It's you're elected to do. And thank you, Bonnie, Adam, Kim. You guys got back to me.
I also responded to you.
I didn't get it.
I emailed you right after.
I never got an email.
I apologize. I did email you. I promise. I did.
I'll check my spam. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Terry Barber, 3047 Adams Street. This is my first meeting here. Great to see everybody here. I'd like to again thank the city. We usually leave for the winter. We just got back, and last year, about the same time we got back, and in the river behind our house was a great big tank, some kind of tank, water heater, what? So my wife Debbie, she called up the city and came out, engineer came out. Not sure that was Scott or not, but he came out and he said, that thing's got to get out. So the next thing, the ambulance came, with the fire department came. And when the fireman put on his rig, went out and dragged that thing in. Then the next, another city engineer, I believe, came out with a big front loader, picked that thing up and took it away. All lasted probably an hour. So, and I wrote you a letter thanking you and the fellas that came out. You don't remember that, but anyway, it was a good deal. I appreciate what you guys do up here. It's a pain in the butt sometimes, but I get it. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else, we will go on to number 8, council communications. Letters and other communications from citizens. Do we have anything?
Just a letter I mentioned earlier.
Yes, sir.
I had someone contact me complaining about police in the Departmental planning to.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was contacted that, and some people were upset that there was a police car parked outside Lenny's too.
Oh.
I think that was yesterday or Saturday. But, I said I'd bring it up.
Yeah. I have no idea.
Mark, you first.
I was contacted by a citizen asking me what's really happening in the south side with all the drug activity, the crime activity, and what's going on. And,
If it's okay with you, to a certain extent, Chief. Yeah. The chief will be, that will be speaking to that, city manager.
it's fine with me, but that will answer.
I don't know that it would be an exhaustive answer because there's a lot of speculation and things that maybe can't be directly spoken to, as is often the case with social media. But certainly the department's mindful of those concerns and the chief has some comments.
Well, I thought we all got a note about someone, was wondering how long you can keep a political sign up. And I know there are rules about signs and you cannot put them between the sidewalk and the road. But I actually don't know if you have to have your political signs down. I asked the community service officer, she didn't know either. Do you know?
I've had some discussions, I'll put our city attorney on the spot again, Sean, because, again, not a political statement, but we still see more activity at campaign season, but there is the aspect that sometimes it seems campaigns are year-round now, and it is a form of political free speech, like many activities represent political free speech. So that's a concern that arises with some of the restrictions cities have typically.
There are certainly a number of municipalities that have explicit regulations that political signs need to come down at temporary days after an election. There's been some, maybe pushback, the best word, among legal people with legal scholars about that in some municipalities, because campaign signs are becoming more ubiquitous and seen as symbols of First Amendment expression over time. We still see people with all sorts of political signs from presidential elections, gubernatorial elections, and things like that. I mean, for a lot longer than they used to. So I think there was a lot of legal scholars in some communities who are worried about imposing regulations that used to be more common because they don't want to restrict First Amendment protection speech. The city could certainly pursue ordinance if they wanted to restrict that, but there's no guarantee if that would be eventually challenged as a restriction of First Amendment speech. There isn't any great cases on point that say, you can regulate 5 weeks after the election, but 6 weeks is, 6 weeks, but 5 weeks is too much. The court really hasn't drawn a line there. So the city council certainly could entertain a proposal like that. Cities across the state have policies like that say so much after election, take the signs down. But when it becomes permissible, when it's impermissible, it's a pretty fuzzy line.
Anyone else? Yes, Tim.
I was just say, I think our ordinance says that like for special events and stuff, you can have a sign up for 30 days. And then after that 30 times, that can go the police day or something.
Anyone else? Okay. Number 9, council reports on boards, commissions, or committees.
Main Street, oh, the weather is beautiful, and that means the beginning of our festival season. And I encourage everybody to go to the Main Street website to see what it is that we're going to be happening this year. And that's also on the Explore Two Rivers website. So you might want to take a look now so you can find your calendar. Things are just really gearing up, and we're just getting ready to put these events on. It's gonna be top full of entertaining. So with EAB, Environmental Advisory Board, I haven't been to meetings in person in several weeks due to some issues. And so I haven't really been on top of the EAB meetings, and I'm just wondering if either Shannon or Doug, because you're both on the committee, if you kind of maybe bring everybody up to speed as to what's going on.
Sure, I was at the last meeting. We talked a lot about the last educational series of the winter. Michael Dittmer talked about lighting. I did not personally attend, but I heard it was very successful. We also talked about a lot of the grants that Parks and Rec is pursuing. So there's a lot of upcoming opportunities there. We did talk about possibly having educational series other times of the year, but nothing was decided. That's about it.
Okay. Oh, anyone else? Okay, then on to city manager's report, Greg.
Okay, we'll start. There's a lot of stuff on here, but I'll try to keep it short and sweet. Thanks to Jeff Dawson for a picture. Yet another windy, wavy day in the Shota Beach. We don't have fog anymore because we have wind all the time. As far as staffing updates, we are still looking for a community development director, city planner. I think that may very well become a choice available to the new city manager when that person comes on board in July, because it's been limited as far as the response. And I think I've shared before, I've heard that same thing from our search consultants at Public Administration Associates that are handling the city manager search. Accounting clerk in the finance department, we're currently accepting applications for that position. I probably am overlooking it up there. Amanda, application deadline on that one?
Friday.
This Friday. City manager recruitment, again, the position profile and video is out there. Application deadline is April 28th, next week, Monday. The intent is for the consultants to identify a recommended set of semifinalist candidates to the 4-member City Council Recruitment and Selection Committee. For that committee, either as a committee of 4 or inviting in the full council, I think that's open yet, to review those applications, identify a group of semifinalists who will be invited to record answers to some interview questions, submit to a background check by our consultants, council's consultants, and based on that, review the semifinalists and identify a group of ideally 3 to 5 finalists who will be invited to Two Rivers the Thursday and Friday after Memorial Day for community tour, meeting with department heads, community reception, and get together on that for Thursday night where the public would come in and meet finalist candidates. And then it's anticipated there would be an assessment center on Friday of that week, which will hopefully be very helpful with the help of your consultants in identifying a preferred candidate. Target is to get that person on board by mid-July. My retirement date right now is at August 8th, so the intent is to have a 3 to 4 week overlap period. That's the latest on that. Finally, our seasonal hires.
Sorry,
please.
How many applications are there, you know?
I did not get an update Friday. Early last week, it stood at 10.
Thank you.
And Kevin Bruner, who's the primary contact, said his expectation is between the Easter holiday and now in this last week, that's probably when you typically see the most applications. Okay, thank you. And so many of our park and rec programs run, in addition, of course, to our full-time staff, but rely very heavily on seasonal and part-time staff. We're in recruitment mode for any number of positions as shown. There program support, park hosts, umpires, lifeguards, park maintenance. So, you know, it doesn't have to just be young people, retired people, people in between that are interested in part-time seasonal employment. Council members had a chance to view on the way into the meeting tonight the refurbished ambulance number 5. That's the unit that was purchased, used back in 2020. It was a former Pittsburgh Corona EMS ambulance. After 4 years of service, we put a new cab chassis underneath it, and the box has been refurbished. It's back on the road again. Total spend just over $200,000, $70,000 state grant, and $135,000 in city capital funds. So that's easily over $100,000 less than a brand new unit would cost. It's got all new cabin chassis, powertrain, and a totally refurbished box on the back. So well done to the fire department with their capital investment for EMS. If Chief Murrock would like to come forward, our youth apprentice was scheduled to be here, but he was unable to attend. We've reported at various times to the council on the now 7 or 8 high school youth apprentices we have in various departments. And Chief Murrock can give you a quick overview on Chris Parker.
Yeah, we're really excited about this program. As I talked to the council before about, this takes between a little. This is a paid intern, the first paid intern we've had at the fire department since I've been there. I've been there 26 years. So this takes the intern from a observational role to an actual operating role. He's starting right at the beginning. So he's been given a uniform and attached. He works as a mentor on one of the shifts. He will be working approximately 12 hours a week. And we're going to utilize him more and more as he gets more training and more experience, up to the level that perhaps we can get him part-time in the future. This might be a couple of years down the road, or it might be a year after he's out of high school. But we'd like to use this program to bring youth from the city into the fire department to give them the opportunity to get into the fire service or that vocation early. And I think we owe it to the community to get that offering to the residents of this community first. So we're excited. I'll report back to let you know how it's going. If any of the council members or anyone in the community has any questions about it, just give me a call during the week, or you can actually stop down and meet Chris. His name is Chris Parker.
Chief, is this part of the high school? So does this end when the school ends, or is he going to continue this all through the summer and then right back into next year?
He's going to continue it through the summer.
Okay, very nice.
And the reason being is because once we get him embedded and trained with the shift, we don't want to have a gap because he's going to lose knowledge, and we want to keep this rolling. In the future, we might add another one, but that's all budget dependent and seeing where this goes. So it's a great opportunity for this individual to grow in the fire service and decide if it's for them. If they decide it is for them, our goal is to get them employed full time in the future, city or at one of the other departments.
Perfect.
And the advantage to that is once we hire them, it's very little training and it doesn't cost us much to get them operating on the ambulance and on the fire trucks. And it's someone that's going to stay. Our local employee, well, we don't have much turnover by us, but our local employees don't leave.
so we get 25 to 30 years of service on
Thanks, Chief.
it. Yeah, thank you.
Well done. Great for. Great for our young people to see the opportunities that exist in serving their own communities. Chief Minor, if you want to come forward, we have a couple of items on the report, both regarding police department entry team and recent recognitions of staff and community members by police department.
Yeah, so just to talk about some of the inaccuracies as far as regarding this entry team. First off, just to discuss this and give everybody a little bit of backstory, because I know there's some new council members. I know Adam, I believe, was president at the time. I think Darla was there. We had some meetings back when we had a different Metro drug leader. We had discussions about the drug problem in Two Rivers and what we were or were not doing about it and what we could do about it. So we had, I think, very good conversation about that and all the things that we had done. I'd say probably in the last 3 years, my last year as assistant chief, moving to my last couple of years as chief. Those started with the creation of the canine position. So all of you are aware of that. We did have some hiccups with Zante and his health. But since then, he's running strong and training, and we're getting a lot of buzz out of him. We can certainly do a little bit better job, maybe, of announcing that, but I don't think that's always the image you want to portray either, is that we have this massive drug problem, but he is getting his work done. In addition to that, we also created an additional detective position here at Two Rivers. So that person is involved in all the drug and ICAC, which is the children, the endangered children, and all the things that kind of revolve around that. So we have an additional detective since then and a canine officer. In addition, we made that Metro officer a full-time position devoted to Metro, with the idea that they would present more information back to our officers to better handle the drug problem here in Two Rivers, so that it was more devoted here. Because my theory, and anything anybody that's ever talked to me about, is I'm fine with these joint programs, but I want to know what is it doing here for our city. You know, we can have a Metro drug officer, but if all the drugs are taking place in Two Rivers, I'm not buying that. I want to see what's done here. So we did have Logan, before his promotion, was working in that capacity. Full-time Metro with a detective here, Megan Clumpton, still a detective lieutenant, and the canine position. With that being said, so Logan has been out for 6 months because, as you know, he promoted. We were short-staffed. I'm happy to announce that within a week, I'll be talking to Andy Beck from Metro to get another person devoted full-time over to that position. That's always been my main priority, but Two Rivers comes first in the staffing of our main patrol officers. That being said, I came from Sheboygan Falls a little over 10 years ago now. Some of you may not be aware, but there was an officer that came from here that went down there and is now chief there, which is Aaron Wiegand. The two of us led a team, put together a team. I was part of putting together that team, in which we did exactly what I want to do now here in Two Rivers, and that's put together a team that handles more of those low-level drug situations, and that's really the primary focus. So what we do is we get our own team together. It's not meant to be another SWAT team. It's not meant to be another drug Metro team. What it is a local team. So it's an entry team. So yes, there's unique things that we might do. You might have, say, a child porn case where we're going in to just get child porn, and it's more minor level security risk. So we can go in, SWAT won't even entertain that, and there's no reason to pull other resources. So we can use our team to do that. That's what we would do. In addition, we can train those officers now with the likes of, say, a Logan, to go out and investigate drug offenses. So they're out, you know, making contacts with the public, they're doing trash pulls, they're doing those things to get out and build those drug cases that probably won't rise to the level of Drug Metro. When we were in those meetings quite a ways back, what we learned is Drug Metro was really handling some of those bigger cases so they could work conspiracies together and have federal indictments so that there were some teeth in those cases. These would be more localized cases. So they might not have the same bite, but it's going to send a message to everyone, whether it's the low-level user to the low-level that is for. When I created that team, we executed 40 warrants. With 27, the year after that, I think it was 8. That's the amount of impact you can have on your community and show that you are doing something about drugs. False news reports on Facebook, the opposite. So Mark Bittner, I do understand too. What I will say is that we won't condone violating somebody's rights, and we also don't condone vigilantism. So if you have an incident, you need to contact us, we need to know about it, we need to build our cases, and we need to do it by law. You can't do those things on your own as a citizen, chase people down, and think something's going to happen, because really it's going to get you into a bind. What I will say is, I've said it throughout my career, when people suspect things are taking place, it's one thing to suspect, it's another thing to be able to justify it. I've told people all along, we don't live in a world where I can just go bust down a door and search for drugs when I don't have reason to do so. If you guys want to give up your rights, I'll certainly start doing that. But right now, I think we live in the U.S. and we have those rights. I guess that's where I stand. That's what we're doing with the drug problem. That's the intention of the new team. And I'm going to keep finding different ways that we can improve the drug issues here in Two Rivers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Go on.
Go on
Over
to another note.
Recent department awards.
Yeah, I will say that if the council members would like to reach out to me, I did speak with several people. I got a lot of numbers that I could go over with you. It would be quite extensive, but if you want to know the drugs that have actually been taken off the streets, I could definitely share that information with you, both from that Metro officer standpoint to the local low-time patrol officer that's just doing his job. So reach out to me. I love having those conversations, and we can go from there. Moving forward, I'm happy to announce that yes, we did have our awards banquet with some officers. Karen Elson-Peter was recognized for 30 years of absolute great service here in Two Rivers. Anybody that knows Karen knows the great job she does. I have already mentioned the great deal of work that Logan has done in his short 5-year career. And then moving on, we had a couple life-saving awards. Officer Brad Dimmick received an award for his life-saving efforts on January 26th when he began life-saving measures on a man not conscious and not breathing at McDonald's restaurant. His professional response resulted in the saving of a citizen of Two Rivers. Seth Tobison for his life-saving award, where on March 30th, 2024, he began life-saving measures on a person believed to have had an overdose. The quick and tactical response by him resulted in saving the life of a citizen in Two Rivers while also keeping other people safe in that situation. And Justin Krieger, a life-saving award in recognition of his life-saving efforts on June 3rd, 2024, when he forced entry into a room where a person was believed self-harm, attempting self-harm. There he located the person hanging by a shoelace, gasping for air. His quick thinking and professionalism resulted in not only saving that citizen, but also ensuring she received the care she needed. And then finally, Justin Jackson received a merit award in recognition of his heroic efforts on August 18th, 2024, where he became aware of 2 females struggling to swim in 75 feet of water off Lake Michigan in troubling waters. Officer Jackson dropped his gear without hesitation, courageously swam up to assist both females, despite his safety and total exhaustion and consideration in the efforts. With that, I'd like to give out outstanding awards for outstanding citizens and their efforts. And a great segue to that, Stephen Leigel Jr. and Derek Keelkoff both received one for their heroic efforts, along with Justin Jackson. Stephen Leigel had swam out to assist apparently a fellow Marine. He was happy to share with me in assisting those 2 females, and Derek Keelkoff later assisted Justin Jackson, our own officer, when he became extremely exhausted from trying to swim in those waters. So they both received an award for their efforts. And then finally, Oscar Garcia. I kind of love this story. I wish he could have been here to accept it. But when I called, he said he'd call me back in 10 minutes. And then in 10 minutes, he went through the phone tree, and it was just to verify that I wasn't a scam. So I patted him on the back for that as well. I thought that was awesome. He did exactly what everybody should do. But he did come in, and he was ecstatic. If you remember back on April 17th, 2024, he was critical in seeing something suspicious. We say, you know, if you see it, report it. He did so, and as luck would have it, it ended up being he followed this person. He kept providing information. Our officers got there, and it turned out this guy had done a crime spree across Wisconsin, several stolen vehicles, several burglaries, including a lot of cases here in Two Rivers. So I was happy to give him an award as well. I think that wraps it up.
Thank you. As the council's aware, with local room tax revenues, which are under the stewardship of the city's room tax commission, they handle budgeting for those. They have a contract in place with Explore Two Rivers, our local 501c3 for tourism promotion and development. A lot of good things happen. Among those are grants for from Explore Two Rivers for opportunity grants. I'd like to ask Joe Metzen to come up and provide a quick update on recently awarded Explore Two Rivers grants. I also note in the audience, John Wyrostic, back here in the corner, is the chair of Explore Two Rivers, and that group is doing a really great job of promoting a town that's a really great product and has great experiences.
Thank you, Rick. So far in 2025, we've been able to give out a little over a half a dozen opportunity grants to community organizations and 3 sustainability grants. Excuse me, I just sent letters out today informing some of the organizations that they're receiving those. So lots of good emails coming in, and people appreciating that. I want to point out some that were really, really successful last year. Snowfest, amazing 3-day event in our community. This year is their 50th Snowfest event that they're hosting. So pretty cool anniversary there. The success they had in 2024 allowed them to spring forward, and they just recently applied for a gym grant through the state of Wisconsin that helps them get additional marketing dollars to support tourism, bring more people to the community and to that event. That deadline date was April 1st, and I know that they submitted an outstanding grant proposal that I was able to help assist them with. But things are going well on that front, and I can report that as of year to date, our room tax revenue is still a little above even where we were in 2024. And 2024 was our best year to date.
2024 was a good year when many other communities saw slight declines in the room tax. So, okay, thank you very much, and thanks to the Explore Board for the good work they did. Let's see here. By way of update on everybody's favorite highway project out on Memorial Drive, the really big pipes that carry an awful lot of water underneath Memorial Drive and Columbus Street, that installation was completed on schedule last Friday. It was grappled back in, and it might be a little bumpy, but the road is again passable for local traffic for the entire length of the project, except for the bridge in Two Rivers, which as of today is shut totally down for 3 weeks. And the subcontractor there, Lunda Construction, will be putting down a new layer of concrete pavement on the bridge deck. That's supposed to be wrapped up in 3 weeks. Culvert work on Memorial is slated to be completed tomorrow, we're told. And you'll still see some partial lane closures as the crews get replacement concrete down over those culvert replacements in preparation for repaving. Again, DOT's intent and Benton Construction's intent as the prime contractor are that the detour ends and the drive between Manitowoc and Two Rivers will be back in service for through traffic by the Memorial Day weekend. There'll still be some paving going on after Memorial Day, probably well into June, but that will be under traffic with lane closures and flagging. We've all dealt with that. That means it's summer in Wisconsin. Come on, those flaggers. They'll also be extending a bit further because every bit of guard beam or guardrail that's on the lake side of Memorial Drive is coming down. Most of it's getting replaced, not in every instance, like the area across from Columbus Street will not have guardrail because it's judged to be a safe distance away from the lake and the embankment. That'll make it a whole lot easier for the new marked pedestrian crossing that goes out there. But not an easy project. I'm not a real fan of how the communication's been handled on it. You all know that. I don't think there are any fans of that up here. But a pretty important infrastructure project. $6 million being invested of our gas tax and license money, and the first resurfacing since the year 2000. So that asphalt overlay has held up pretty well out there. On the bridge, I should point out the sidewalk and trail segment are closed as well, so you need to just detour around that area. Great things happening over at Neshota Park. Would like to invite Mike Mathis, our Parks and Rec Director, up to talk about those projects and how they're moving forward. Again, total over $700,000 being invested in further improvements at the park, over half of that from grants and donations.
Good evening, everyone. These pictures, unfortunately, are a little bit old. If you went out there today, you'd see that JC shelter, the picture on the left, is completely finished with new concrete in that building. Had old asphalt surface in it that was in pretty poor condition, very uneven. And so that drastically changed the appearance of that picnic shelter. It is a pretty heavily used picnic shelter, one of the largest in all of our parks. So especially with this proximity right next to the new playground that gets used a lot just for impromptu picnics and families and things like that, let alone all the rentals that go on in there. 21 rentals last year. And I would assume every day, June through August, or just about, somebody's in there using it. So that got completed. The picture on the right is where the new climbing wall and bamboo jungle will be going. So this project was $120,000 total project cost. $100,000 grant came from the West Foundation and $20,000 from the Room Tax Commission to cover that entire project. So the Department of Public Works did excavation, pulled out topsoil, and laid the concrete foundations for the climbing equipment. We have mulch and the borders for the mulch on order. And so when we get those in, we'll install the climbing equipment itself with the surfacing right afterwards, because we don't want to leave it out there without surfacing and make it unsafe. So all those things will be coming in the next week or 2 weeks, and we'll get it wrapped up here pretty soon. Hopefully by mid-May, we'll be climbing, have fun on that at Neshota. Matt Hecklevel and I are finishing up schedules for all the other great improvements going on in the park between Pierce Street, parking and pathways. A few other things coming up yet early this year. So yeah, that's good going on.
Thank you. Just remind folks that the Woodland Drive compost site is now open, so you don't have to make that further trip to Basswood Road. Just like if you're like me, you show up at 5 minutes to 6 on Saturday out at Woodland Drive with all of your stuff. There's like a parade out there just before it closes. Never late, just before it closes. Update from our city engineer on the 2024 to 25 lead service lateral replacement project. After shutting things down for the winter, Mammoth Construction is back at work, and the updated totals are shown there in the column under, well, last week, Monday, April 14th. To date, under that contract, 98 public side water services replaced, 68 public side sanitary laterals. Those are on the city and those. Private side water services, 28. And private side sanitary laterals where homeowners have opted to replace their private side of the sanitary lateral outside the right of way while the work's being done, totaling 11. We've gotten a lot of calls and certainly understand folks that live in that neighborhood, sort of in the north central part of town, are eager to see those excavated areas resurfaced. It's pretty bumpy, and when it's dry, it gets dusty up there. That should be starting up in the very near future. Hasn't yet, hasn't that? Well, very shortly. So. And we continue to remind the county of the need to get us that reimbursement on our draw for Roosevelt Street and laterals. I mentioned that. Brian Delman, could you come forward and talk about the presentation at LB Clark within the last couple of weeks. This relates to energy efficiency matters or with the investment school district in Clark.
Good evening. Last Thursday, we had the opportunity to go up to LD Clark School. Diane Johnson, Adam Rohr, and then a gentleman from Focus on Energy, myself, Gina Sampe, our office manager, and Tom Bolt from WPPI. And Diane and Adam walked us through the school, showed us all the different improvements they've done with their expansion of the school. And at the beginning of their construction project, between their team and their general contractor, they were able to apply for both state and local programs for energy efficiency grants. Focus on Energy actually over $23,000 they actually received for applying for these programs. And that is various different lighting and HVAC and various things that, you know, they can go and install new as they're building and put into the design right from the get-go. So
it looks like they're saving just about that amount annually.
And that's annually, yes. So any questions?
Great partnership, and same sort of partnership that's available with this.
And various, and all residential customers as well. We have various programs as far as like the appliance rebate program, shade tree program. So there's applications done at our office, and customers are encouraged to stop by.
Thank you, Brian. Just not projects we've talked about before, but under community and economic development update. Follow up on Rush Logistics. They will be breaking ground on Tuesday, May 6th at their new location at the Woodland Industrial Park. And they've been in touch indicating they would love to welcome some city guests there. So city council members, if that works on your calendar, they would like to be able to identify the city folks that are at the groundbreaking. So if you can get in touch with my office just to get an RSVP, that's again 2 p.m. Tuesday, May 6th. And the announcement was on social media this weekend from both Growth Garage and their tenant, Darkside Strength. Darkside is in about 1,200 square feet of space in the existing Growth Garage facility on Lincoln Avenue. Based on the healthy growth in that business, their landlord, Growth Garage, is going to be putting up a new 2,800 square foot building on 33rd Street at Lincoln Avenue, just up the road about a block from their current location. And that will not only provide a new home for Darkside, but will open up a 1,200 square foot commercial space for that new tenant. Discussions with the developers for the downtown Taco Bell location, they probably aren't going to be under construction until sometime in August, as they have the need to provide notice to their existing tenants at that location. Violet Inn, some of you have taken the opportunity for tours over there. That's coming along real well. They're still anticipating its summer opening, and you may have seen some social media posts through Explore Tours in the city this past week on Pop Star Pizza. The two young entrepreneurs there are hard at work putting the finishing touches on things, and they expect to be open before the end of May. So some good things happening around that. As far as upcoming events, Parks and Rec and Lester Library, let's celebrate Arbor Day this coming Saturday, the 26th. I believe the 4 ash trees that are the victims of ash borer in the middle of the parking lot of the library came down today. There will be replacement trees planted shortly. So anyway, celebrate Arbor Day this coming Saturday, 10 to noon at Lester Public Library. An educational element, and you can watch a tree felling demonstration, plant new trees, some chalk art, s'mores over a fire. Will not be burning any of the library's trees or the land. But in any event, working with DNR and our urban forestry program. There is a drug take-back program, so you can turn in unused or expired medication for safe, proper disposal. It's a drive-through, and that is being offered out at the Frederick Memorial as a drive-through service. Again, this coming Saturday, 9 a.m. to noon. That does have the convenience of a drive-through. We would note that Monday through Friday, year-round, you can drop off those unused, expired meds here at City Hall, there's a drop box right outside the police department window. Looks very industrial, like a nuclear reactor or something sitting down there in the lobby. It's formidable and gets a lot of use. Coffee with a Cop coming up at the Two Rivers Senior Center next week, Wednesday, April 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. There was the need to cancel a recent Coffee with a Cop at Starbucks. I know Councilmember Bittner was there along with a few citizens. That was something that arose due to staffing and availability of folks at Starbucks. It was not a police department initiated cancellation. Two Rivers School District Art Show, always a wonderful event over at Leicester Public Library. 3 full weeks from April 30th to May 20th. There's some incredible talent from the young people in our schools, so stop by the library and check it out. The Two Rivers High School Choir, sharing their talents with a show choir concert over at the Senior Center, May 1st at 1 p.m. We do encourage you to stop in or call and register for that. It's so much fun. They'll be out the doors at the Senior Center, so get registered for that. Our friends over at the Hamilton Woodtype and Printing Museum have got a reception related to an exhibit by Kathleen O'Connell, Hand Lettering as Creative Practice. And that's May 1st, 5 to 7 p.m. at that museum. That does a great job of telling the history of Two Rivers and celebrating letterpress printing and creative arts. Heartorama, the Manitowoc County institution, takes over the Community House Gymnasium for 6 days of performances, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, May 1, 2, and 3, and 8, 9, and 10. Heartorama's just done amazing things through the years. It's cultural immersion in Manitowoc County. Get really bad roundabout jokes, seagull jokes, all for a good cause. Tickets are still available for a number of the performances. I won't vouch for the night Charlie Behrens is there, which I think is named out. But tickets are available at Teese's Piggly Wiggly or online. I would mention we have a delegation traveling to the Czech Republic, to our sister city of Domažlice next week. A number of us will be there representing the community. This is the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, 80th anniversary of when Domažlice was liberated by a company of American GIs led by Lieutenant Colonel Matt Conniff of Stangleville and Two Rivers. And that's always a big event. That's the commemorative plaque you see there on the front of their city hall, recognizing how members of Patton's second Infantry were integral to the liberation as the German troops retreated. And there's an amazing presentation. Some of you may have seen some of the press on it that is coming up, and that's all supported by private donations. Again, the trip entirely privately financed by the folks that are going. But I'll be on that trip, and Chief Minor will be in this chair for the work session in the first meeting in May. It would be 1 o'clock in the morning, but I thought it might be kind of cool to do like a little Facebook messaging back with it might be me and some very interesting characters in the town square in Domažlice at 1 a.m. So the celebration, I'm sure, will wind down. That is a portion of the Václav Fiala memorial to the 2nd Infantry, and next to it is the Domažlice version of Fiala's friendship table, sort of a companion piece to the beautiful sculpture we have out here in Central Park. And there you have the former mayor of Domažlice, you have our longtime chair, Brenda Krokowski of the Two Rivers Sister Cities Committee, and the current mayor of Domažlice in their change. So we'll report back on that. I would mention as I wrap up here, there are a number, most of the terms on our boards and committees run through the end of April. There are a number of vacancies to be filled with new appointees on boards and commissions. Among those, the Advisory Rec Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, we're just looking for 2 alternates there. We have 2 alternate positions, so we can always be assured of a quorum. The Community Development Authority, with the typo, the Business Improvement District Board, Committee on Aging, Environmental Advisory Board, and Plan Commission. Applications can be found online on the city website, or you can contact the city manager's office if you want an email to or want a paper form. There are a number of people that are eligible for reappointment and have indicated they're willing to continue serving on boards and committees. Those will be presented as well as the new appointees, and those will happen probably between the May 5th and May 19th council meetings. So always welcome interest. Those are appointments recommended by the city manager, subject to confirmation by city council. And we got another look at a whole lot of beach showing by that new beach, I believe, that Neshota Park. That's my report, with the exception of intergovernmental update. I remembered it tonight, Scott. Would mention that next Monday, here in Chambers from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m., our state senator, Devin Munhu, and our state representative, Paul Till, will be here for a joint listening session. Again, 3:30 to 4:30 here in Chambers. Council meeting will follow that at 6 p.m. So we encourage the public to come out. Any questions you might have, it's budget time in Madison. I'll see that we share the resolution that was passed by council at the last meeting on funding the stewardship program, which funds a lot of good things in our parks. Good opportunity for people to come out. These are, since redistricting and changes in boundaries, these are our two fairly new state electeds for this area. I also did want to share that a week ago, last Thursday, our city engineer and Parks and Recreation director, along with Mike McClare from Susie Q Fish Company and Scott Anderson from Seagull Marina, and myself, met with representatives of the Army Corps of Engineers Chicago District Office to talk about issues pertaining to the harbor here, specifically the design review that's being done by the Corps, looking at some past studies and seeing what might be recommended for the future as far as any physical modifications to the harbor to reduce the frequent shoaling and the need for frequent and very expensive maintenance dredging by the Corps, as well as the surge problem in the harbor, particularly during fall storms. Those are some of the long-term concerns we've been beating the drum about for over 10 years now, saying having a harbor that opens up to the south-southeast is not a good thing in the fall. Remember, Colonel Roberts of the Corps of Engineers, who in retirement wrote Robert's Rules of Order, designed our harbor. He might have been really good at running meetings. We're not so sure about his harbor design. So we're working on that. And it was also a chance, especially for Susie Q, which goes out all winter in some pretty rough weather, to remind the Corps that we're seeing some pretty significant shoaling again, and that presents real concerns about when it's rough out there, about seeing the commercial fishing tugs bottom out on those shoals. And right now, there's no programmed maintenance dredging scheduled until at least 2027. I will say that the Corps representatives left here saying they got the message and do want to look at whether there's at least some emergency funding to come in and not do a full dredging like gave us the new beach a few years ago, but at least come in and as some of the dredging companies are in this part of the lake, maybe knock the top off those shoals that are right at the entry to the harbor. So that's a constant battle, and hopefully the council keeps beating the drum on that, because long term, it's tough to get any capital investment for a small, mostly recreational harbor. But that harbor is so important to our future. That wraps up my report. Thank you.
Thank you. On to 11, consent agenda. Under A, we have presentation minutes. We have one from the City Council regular meeting from April 7th, 2025. The recommended action will be a motion to waive reading and adopt the minutes. Under B, we have minutes of meetings. There are 7 of those. We have the Library Board for March 11th, 2025, Environmental Advisory Board for March 18th, 2025, Plan Commission March 10th, 2025, Plan Commission Special Meeting March 19th, 2025, Public Works Committee from April 2nd, 2025, Public Utilities Committee from April 7th, and the Advisory Recreation Board from April 9th, 2025. The recommended action is a motion to receive and file. Under C, we have department reports from April 2025. We have the city clerk, electric, fire, inspections, library, parks and recreation, police, public works, safety, and tourism. The recommended action will be a motion to receive and file. Under D, we have applications and petitions. There are 2 of those. The first one is an application for a temporary Class B beer and Class B wine license for Friends of Two Rivers Snowfest for Snowfest Wine and Beer Walk, May 17th, 2025 in downtown Two Rivers. The second one is an application for a block party permit, Kevin's Custom and Classic Cars LLC, for a block party at 1915 Jefferson Street, closing the 1900 block of Jefferson Street on May 17th, 2025, from 11:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Recommended action will be a motion to approve the application and authorize issuance of the license and the permit. Recommended action for the consent agenda will be a motion to approve the consent agenda with the various actions recommended. Looking for that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bonnie, and it's a second from Mark.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any council discussion? Yes, Bonnie
I
first.
forget we don't have, Mike. You know, a lot of all these reports are found online under the Two Rivers, what is it called? The Two Rivers website? Yeah, website. Anyway, the police and the Parks and Rec and Public Works, they always have pictures. So you might like to look at them. And they show the new passes for the police department. They also show canines hard at work. But I have to say that Daisy never looks like she's hard at work. She's too relaxed. But also, I wanted to tell you that the memorial decals, these are for the 2 police officers killed while in service. And they're at the back of the police cars, which I never knew that before, but those are very nice. They, in the style of original badges. I hope you don't mind if I say all that.
No, absolutely.
That's
No.
it.
Mark?
I'm a little concerned about reviewing reports. I'm a little concerned about the inspection department report. If you look at our permits monthly, compared to previously year-to-date monthly last year, there seems to be a real substantial drop in permit activity. And ultimately, that means growth industrial. And I'm wondering, is it because we have enough help in that department, or is it backing up, or is there a problem? Is it just not happening? I want to make it as easy as possible for development.
I have to do some follow-up on that, Mark. I noted we were down.
Yeah.
But,
It was quite substantial.
yeah. We have a few, not big, but some, some commercial building, industrial building activity that I mentioned. As far as what sectors are down, I
mean,
think.
rooms like science and plumbing, they're across the board. I just want to watch it.
I don't have a ready answer. I saw the same numbers.
I was just gonna ask a question about the block party on Jefferson Street. Is that gonna be an issue? I know Jefferson Street's kind of a busy street. Is that gonna be kind of an issue to block that street off? Maybe it'd be easier if they took side of the street like 20 or something.
I assume this went through both PD and Public Works. It's not on a weekend that we are detouring via Jefferson Street or via Madison off Washington. So Washington should be probably okay. I don't know if either police or Public Works had any comments on that.
Just, yes, it's not a major street like Washington Street, so with no other closures in the area, it'll be blocked off, for a period of time. All the residents impacted within that closure area had to sign off on a waiver. And so, yes, there will be inconvenience to local traffic, so to speak, but it's manageable.
Of course, May 17th, that's a Saturday. Can't say that Jefferson is particularly busy there. It might impact a little bit people coming or going from Sepia for a wedding, but again, there's plenty of access from all the side streets. And at least we don't have to answer to DOT on that one, because as you well know, we're limited to 4 closures a year that we have on Washington.
Anyone else? Okay, see nothing else, then we'll do a voice vote. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all for that. On to 12, City Council formal items. Under A, we have proclamation of municipal clerks week, May 4th through the 10th, 2025. Recommended action is motion to, we want to waive reading and adopt the proclamation, or do we want to read it? Yes. She doesn't want to read it though, so I might have to read it. So looking for motion to read and adopt the proclamation. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Bill. Any council discussion? This will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Rowdy Shimelowitz. Aye. Scott Steckhauser.
Aye.
Adam Lahusky.
Aye.
Darrell Leclerc. Aye. Mark Bittner.
Aye.
Shannon Derby. Aye. Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Doug Brand.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Can we read it? I'll read it, absolutely. We'll let your voice. Okay, so City of Two Rivers proclamation for Municipal Clerks Week, May 4th through May 10th, 2025. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Two Rivers declares the week of May 4th through May 10th, 2025 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk and deputy clerks, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Dated this 5th day of May, 2025. Thank you, Amanda, and Val, and Mark. Thank you all. On to B, award a bid for reconstruction project on Harbor Street, 16th Street, and Emmett Street.
You've got, this is of course a project that you earlier this evening approved the special assessment role for. You've got our city engineer, Matt Ackermleifel's memo in your packets, along with the analysis and award recommendation from Town and Country Engineering. As was noted earlier, the project came in within less than 1%, but came in slightly below engineer's cost estimate. There were 4 competitive bids received. The low qualified bidder, Benton Construction Company, with a base bid in the amount of $1,531,442.38. I would note that the bids were fairly tight. The next lowest bidder was 2% higher than Benton. The next one after that was another 2% higher. Then a fair jump up to the bid from the group that you see there. But this project is drawing from a number of funding sources, as shown on the first page of the city engineer's memo, including DNR low-interest loans, DNR principal forgiveness on the private service laterals, low-interest loan money from DNR, money from stormwater utilities, general obligation borrowing for the road work, and of course the assessment against the abiding private property. So the staff recommendation is to approve the award of bid to Benton in the amount of their low qualified bid.
Any questions for Greg? Otherwise, we're looking for motion to award the contract to Benton Construction Company.
So
Thank you, Darrell.
I'll second the contract with Benton Construction.
Thank you. Any council discussion? See none, we'll do a roll call vote. Amanda?
Rowdy Shimelowitz. Aye. Scott Sanborn.
Aye.
Adam Lefebvre.
Aye.
Darrell Leclerc. Aye. Mark Bittner.
Aye.
Shannon Derby. Aye. Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Doug Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you all for that. On to C, resolution authorizing outdoor recreation grant application to Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources for upgrades to Riverside Park.
If you look at the city's park and open space plan, it identifies various priority projects. Most recently, there's been, as we talked about tonight, a lot of investment at the Neshoda Park. Next big one up is planning for and implementing some overdue improvements at Riverside Park. Mike Mathis can address this. She's got both a narrative on this proposed project and a resolution authorizing the application.
So you have seen these types of resolutions from me before for Wisconsin DNR stewardship grants. Last time we had to do this was for the Neshoda application. I outlined in the one pager that I sent you kind of the scale of the grant, what we're thinking in terms of an investment needed to kind of go really big on fulfilling the master plan that we designed for Riverside Park, but you do not have to make a decision now. When we get the budget season, we'll hash out how much the city can invest and all that. Right now, I just need approval to pursue the grant. I have a deadline on May 1st to make that happen, to get that grant submitted. So there's different scales to this project, the ways we could go, but at least this way we have it set it up now, we would go as for a pretty sizable grant from DNR to help us make some things happen over Riverside.
Any questions? No. Then we're just looking for a motion to approve. Or waive reading and adopt resolution.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Jen. Any council discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote again. Amanda.
Scott Sanborn.
Aye.
Adam Lefebvre.
Aye.
Darrell Leclerc. Aye. Mark Bittner.
Aye.
Shannon Derby. Aye. Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Doug Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Bonnie Shamunis. Aye. All in favor.
Thank you all for that. On to 13, for information only.
Just a reminder of upcoming meetings a week from tonight at 6 o'clock here in Chambers, City Council's monthly work session. Following Monday, May 5th, the first regular meeting in May, and that will include some of the ordinance amendments on short-term rental licensing, on trees, which we discussed at a recent work session, and also some regarding notice to property owners on nuisance ordinance violations. There is also there's a regular meeting on Monday, May 19th. The work session date, the fourth Monday of the month, would coincide with Memorial Day, so I assume typical would be to just bump that to the very next evening, so the 27th. Do keep your calendars open. We really should get the, well, I expect with the deadline for city manager applications coming up next Monday, there'll be the need to get the selection committee together. But in the meantime, council members, keep your calendars as open as possible for that Thursday, sorry, the date off, 29th, I guess that would be, of May, for what's anticipated to be an evening community reception that council members would host it, the council members would be in attendance at. And then on Friday during the day, with the schedule yet to be determined, would be assessment center activities with the finals candidates. So do keep those open on your dance card. It's Thursday and Friday after, or I think most of Thursday during the day. At least the plan right now is a meeting with each of the candidates with the department heads, a tour by the current city manager. I promise not to try to hit him off the road talking too much. And but those things all need to be finalized. So that's all I have. I will be speaking at the Two Rivers Historical Society quarterly meeting on Sunday regarding 100 years of council manager government in Two Rivers. So we'll send you the highlight reel, or you're welcome to attend. That's all I've got. No closed session tonight.
Okay. Then we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Scott,
Yes, ma'am.
before we wrap it up, I have a question for the audience. Either something is happening in this room after we're gone, or you guys are just extremely bored and had nothing else to do. We've never had an audience like this. And it's fabulous.
love you.
I love you.
You guys were happy.
Come speak to them in groups that could constitute quorum, but if any of you need to grab a council member on the way out and talk about a particular issue.
It's offered me cake.
I don't know, you're all gonna be able to see that block cake.
He would have dressed up.
Okay, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, second by Mark. We'll do a voice vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Good night. Thank you all for coming.
Copy.